Edward Lepp, a California-based cannabis activist, world-renowned cultivator, author, poet, and artist. Eddy Lepp was the first person to be arrested, tried, and acquitted under the California Prop 215. After refusing to back down from allowing patients and members of ministry to produce cannabis on his property for his wife and over 2,700 patients, he was raided, sentenced to prison in 2008 for conspiracy to manufacture marijuana.
My prison number is 901577011. I was charged with conspiracy, and it's like, so where's everybody else? Where's my co-conspirators?
Salvation. And who is one person to tell another what their salvation is?
Tune in December 30th at 4:20 p.m. to In the Weeds Prohibition Talk Radio to hear Eddy's story.
All right, guys, we are back. Welcome to the last show of 2020. We're getting really excited for the new year, guys. I can't be more honored or privileged to present to you this week's guest, the legendary artist, activist, cultivator. The list goes on. One of our biggest patients activists that we've ever had in our country, who has been in prison for standing up for patients' rights. California Prop 215, Eddy Lepp was one of the originators to go out and collect the signatures with Jack Herrera, some of the amazing legends in our community, and was also one of the first to be arrested, trialed, and acquitted on Prop 215. Eddy was growing massive amounts of plants for patients, his ministries, and all giving it all away. So millions of dollars worth of products given away and time served. So Eddy has an amazing story. He's out of prison now. He's been saved. He's out. Thank God we have him back. And right now he's struggling with some of his health. So today I can't be more honored to end the year of 2020 talking with Eddy Lepp and hearing his truly amazing story. We also have Sandra on, his wife, which again, thank you guys for coming on and taking the time with us today. Eddy, again, huge thank you to you. For the people who don't know who you are and are new to this cannabis industry, please tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and how the hell did you end up in cannabis?
I was born a Rastaman. I didn't know it, but as I grew older, I realized that that was my heart, and I followed it to its end. And I will continue following it until mine.
Now, you started growing years ago, correct?
Oh yeah, I'm the 5th generation. Well, I'm not. My grandchild is. But I grew with my grandfather, my father, my daughter, and my grandson. So there's 5 generations of us that have been in the garden together.
I mean, you guys really started out with the California Prop 215 back in the day. You were out there collecting signatures. What was that like back in that time?
Well, back when I first started this was like when I first got back from Vietnam. It's pretty cool because it was like the Wild West, you know. You threw the dice, you got your number, and you either advanced your spaces or you didn't. Now, the way they keep changing all this shit, nobody knows if they're legal or not. It's costing millions of dollars to set up a farm or a dispensary, which is just absolutely ridiculous. You know, all these years I've been an activist. Everybody's always, you know, said this and that about different things. And the bottom line is, I've never asked anybody for a fucking favor. They can kiss my fucking ass. But what I have asked for is that they treat me with the same respect they treat everybody else with. And a prime example of what I'm talking about is the day they came in and arrested me for the 32,524 plants. My next door neighbor had 15 and 20 footers that literally hang over the fence into my driveway that literally hit their windshields. You could not drive out my driveway without going through my neighbor's garden because it hung over my fence. They arrested me. They arrested everybody at the farm and never even sent a local cop next door to find out if he had a goddamn license.
Well,
now that to me sounds like select prosecution.
Right. Now, when you're growing, this was all your private property, correct?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it all belonged to the church.
Now, when you guys were caretakers, basically, mainly for what, over 2,400 patients, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah, in that neighborhood, it was quite a few. You know, we'd been doing it for quite a while when I finally said screw it and put in the huge garden. I think that was my 5th or 6th garden that we had helped people with. But there came a point in time where I realized that one or two things were going to happen. I was either going to go completely outlaw or I was going to be completely upfront and transparent. And so I bought 40 acres with Highway 20 running right through the middle. It planted in plants and told them to kiss my ass. I thought I had a good defense, but obviously I was screwed out of it. But it's no big deal because ultimately we won. One of the things I want to do for sure is introduce everybody to my wife, Sandy. My life has been an interesting stimulus of things that it don't happen to most people. I've had a very interesting life. And the funny thing is, I was the first person arrested, tried, and acquitted under 215. My lovely wife was the first person arrested, tried, and acquitted as the first caregiver in California to beat the state while providing for a family member.
Right.
Between us, we kind of got it covered, you know. We got a little experience in this.
Right. I mean, alone, I can't imagine the fight. I mean, you guys have been in California based for a while now, right? So you guys have been dealing with the laws in California. Me, Tim, and we talk about it on the show almost every week about how fucked up it is out there right now, and how Prop 15 everybody's still kind of working off of. But how old is this bill? You know what I mean? Now you were facing 4 life sentences, correct?
Plus 40 years for incidentals, yeah.
Glad they tacked on that 40 just to make sure, right? I mean, and ultimately, though, Eddie, I mean, obviously, you're facing 4 life sentences, millions of dollars in fines. I mean, the charges were unbelievable. how'd you get out of it? How are you sitting in bed today?
Well, it's weird. I had a judge, I believe, that was on my side, but I believe was politically fucked. I believe they tied her hand, gave her no choice. But the reason I believe she was on my side was at the end, I was looking at the 4 life sentences. I was looking at the 40 years, and I was looking at 17 million in fines. And the probation department was really, really pushing her to find me. I've read all the paperwork. They really wanted me fined. They wanted me to get 25 to life and a bunch of other shit. And when she sentenced me to the mandatory minimum, said that she was sorry that she didn't want to do it, but she had to, which I found out later is bullshit. But the point is, she could have made my sentence a whole lot worse and didn't. So I tend to think that most of these people get it. It's like, do you know that every attorney that's ever prosecuted me for marijuana, within 6 months of the end of my trial, they quit whoever he was working for and went into practice as a private drug attorney defending us?
I believe it.
Every one of them. Even my federal prosecutor quit his fucking job and went into private practice as a drug defense attorney.
Well, I think, I mean,
horrific.
it is horrific. I mean, this whole drug war that we've seen that's been going on for years is just, it's perpetual. It feeds itself, you know what I mean? And it takes real people to break away from that. People like you and like you said, these lawyers actually sit here and see this system that's just driving down, and they leave it because they believe in the patient's rights, right? I mean, for you, it's been all about patients. It's been about servicing people with cancer. You had Linda that had cancer back in the day that you were really striving for. Sandra's been here. Thankfully, you guys have done what you've done for medical cannabis. I don't think people understand the impact that you've made on that, right? You were also one of the first people to even plant a medicinal field, if I remember correct, right?
I introduced the mycorrhizal. I introduced all organic. My wife and I gave the very first clinics that had mass amounts of people to them. When California had 100,000 card-carrying members, my wife and I, Linda, were responsible for over 33,000 of them.
It's amazing. I mean, just
the thing is this. A lot of guys say, oh, hey, I'm a man. Well, if you're a fucking man, get off your ass and prove it, bitch.
Right? Right? So,
well, yeah, it didn't matter if I was up on the State House steps cussing out the governor and you were the one out in the audience applauding. We wouldn't be where we are today unless we'd have both been where we were when we were together.
Right. Totally.
Nobody made a small contribution to this. Everybody worked very hard. Everybody made huge contributions. And I will tell you, nobody will ever understand the sacrifices that I, Dennis Peron, and Jack Carrere have had to make over the years because of who we are.
Yes.
And it's been difficult. It's been hard. I've lost my life, my wife, my church, and everything else. And it's like I said before we went on the air. You asked me how I'm doing? Fuck it, I'm dying, dude. But I'm loving every minute of it. I've had a wonderful life, and I've had wonderful people in it. And two of the best I've ever known were Jack and Dennis. So
yes,
I can look back on what we've done proudly.
Yeah, Jack and Dennis, as everybody knows, huge in this industry, written books. Without them, again, we wouldn't have the medical systems that we have in place here, which is amazing. You actually won an award from High Times, correct? That Kyle Cushman that presented to you there a few years ago. Tell us about that.
I've received the Lifetime Achievement Award, the Freedom Fighter of the Year award and several other awards from High Times. I've received countless awards and things over the years, appreciation, which each and every one of them has done nothing but just touch me deeply in my heart. Sadly, I lost almost all of them in a fire the year before I got out of prison, where it was all stored, burned to the ground. So I lost almost all of my awards. But I was just awarded last year the Brownie Mary Democratic Party's Award, which I was very, very honored by.
Yes.
But, like I said, it's been a really great life. I've been to Europe 15 or 20 times now and had a real good time. Got to know a lot of really great people. And, you know, to get back to the 215 thing, I'll tell you a little story about 215. And I think this little story really will explain all you need to know about 215. And to my esteemed co-guest, I hope I don't offend any of you with this little story, but nonetheless, here it is. I have a lady friend, her name's Eric, who I love very much. And as most of you know who have known me know that I've had in my life for many, many years. About 15 years ago, 16 years ago, her sons moved out to California from Iowa to be with her because there was a divorce involved and the whole family wanted to reunite and everything. Anyway, the boys came over to my house, and I believe Pierre at that time was 8 years old. He was the youngest. And he wanted to learn how to roll joints. Well, I've always been honest with kids and told them the truth about booze and drugs and why I don't drink, why I won't do drugs, and why I will do marijuana. And he wanted to learn how to roll joints. And I told him, I said, all right, I'll teach you how to roll a joint. But I said, you got to do something for me first. And he said, what? I had a piece of paper on the table. I said, pick that piece of paper up and read it and tell me what it means. He said, okay. So while he picked up the piece of paper and read it, I rolled him a joint. I said, you see how I did that and got it all smooth and yada, yada? He said, yeah. I said, all right, what's that piece of paper mean? He says, well, Eddie, he said, I'm only a fucking 8-year-old. I don't know everything, but it looks to me like it says that if your doctor says it's okay, that you can grow marijuana. And I'm asking myself, as he's saying this, how in the fuck can a goddamn 8-year-old from Iowa fucking understand that goddamn law the second he read it? And these cocksuckers in the state of California with goddamn college educations can't get their heads out of their ass far enough to see daylight. It's like ridiculous. Very cut and dry, very simple. If you're sick, save yourself. And then you got these bastards in government that think they need to make $1 million goddamn dollars off a man laying here in stage 4 terminal cancer, the brain, lungs, and goddamn pelvis, and they think it's okay to charge me more money. It's like ridiculous. I'm no different.
Oh. Do we get a blip here? I know all of our internets are being weird today.
California, it really destroyed a lot of the things Prop 215 created.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about 215 a lot. I mean, Eddie, it's been how many years now since 215 has been? You've been to prison, you've been out of prison for a few years now. How do you feel about where it stands now, between now and then? Is it a system that still works? Do we need to blow it up at this point?
Well, it needs to be blown up a little better. I mean, like anything, it can always be improved on. But I'll tell you the same thing I told somebody right after I got out of prison. If when I got out of prison, everything that happened from the time I went to court The time I went to prison was about 18 years total. I actually served almost 10. And if I could go serve 10 more years and make the same difference in this industry that I made with the last 10, here I am, you motherfuckers, come and cuff me up.
Yeah.
Come and get
I feel you there. I mean,
it. Was worth everything I've done to get us to where we're at. Everything.
But perhaps we need a new initiative now.
But we need people to realize that this is not a game about making money. This is a game about saving lives and about health. And anybody that's so stupid that they can look around now and not realize how much trouble we're in, not only as a country, not only as a world, not only as a village, but as individuals. Fat fucks got to lose weight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we gotta quit snorting coke. Alcoholics gotta slow down to a couple drinks a day. My doctor told me less than a month ago, I'm dying all of this shit. You know what he tells me? He says, this ain't your problem. I said, well, what the hell is? He said, the 20 years worth of cocaine and booze you did. The last time I drank, I was in my early 30s. Nearly 70, and I'm dying because of what I did 35 years ago. So if you're more than 10 or 12 pounds overweight, lose the weight. If you drink too much, quit drinking so much. Start taking care of yourself. Take care of your body at an early age. You can do whatever you want. Just don't do it to excess. And do take care of your health. It's a shame the statistics that this country has compared to the rest of the world as far as our health and how we take care of ourselves. I mean, I blame our government, I blame our medical profession, and most of all, I blame the insurance companies. But at the end of it all, there's nobody I can blame but you. You're the one not getting off your ass. You're not the one doing something. So you can be you, or you can get off your ass and try to change the world.
Yeah, no, we talk about the health all the time. Endocannabinoid systems, which is fairly new to everybody in the last few years, and especially in our medical field. We have our Green Nurse group that joins us every week now. We actually have a great segment today that they provide for us about health and eating properly, and even just drinking water. Like you said, everything in excess can kill you. It's an amazing story. I don't think a lot of people it really hits them. I think when we're in the middle of our addictions, whether it be alcohol, drugs, cigarettes, caffeine, whatever it is, sugar, we're not really realizing. We know what it's doing to us, but we're not really realizing the full effects of it until we see or talk to somebody who, like you, Eddie, right now, who's like literally being like, look at me, listen to me. Let me tell you something, right? Because we're promoting cannabis as a healthy lifestyle, right? Cannabis can help people lose weight, can get people back on track, can help, centralize somebody, right? Sherry, you can talk about that all day long with us. I'm sure she can, especially with addictions, right? The addiction, what we see with cannabis and addiction is amazing, man. And why we don't have the research. Why we don't have that.
But
yeah,
he's
right?
doing way better with those now because he's been smoking more joints. So
that's what we like to hear. Unfortunately, Eddie's health is not that great. But we're glad to have you on, Eddie, and sharing your story.
We just got a little piece of good news. Like I said, my life's been weird, We were out in the car yesterday. Everything was perfect. We're going to get up at 4 o'clock this morning and go into town for an operation. And we walk out the door and the goddamn car won't start. So we had to cancel everything. And to get my operation, I have to have a COVID test. Well, they're only good for 3 or 4 days. So now I got to drive another 500 miles, 2 trips, 250 miles a trip, yada, yada, yada. And, you know, it's really fucked.
We don't have very many hospitals around here.
But then the lady turns around just as we started when Sandy stepped out of the room. And she said, Eddie, we got a cancellation, baby. See you at 9:30 tomorrow morning. So I don't have to drive all those times. I don't have to do all of that stuff. I can just go in and get my port put in.
Yep.
So,
Good.
You know,
Cool.
it's funny how things work out. But,
No, it is.
you know, eventually they do. And it's like right now, I thought I had the money to pay for fixing the car this morning. And then I get in my bank stuff and I find out fucking PayPal has locked my account because I have the word cannabis in my history and they're not going to give me my money for 6 months. Well, I'm supposed to be dead in 3, you son of a bitch.
Yeah,
But, you know, fortunately, my
whole
daughter.
internet banking is ridiculous. We hear stories like we were talking to
You guys are
before.
Yeah, losing connection there.
People.
Yeah, the connection's bad. I can see you guys.
We can see you too, gorgeous.
And their
Oh,
accounts up.
Joseph, you are breaking up. You're in and out. And right now your face is frozen, but you're looking good.
Yeah, baby. Except for that one whisker there by the left corner of your nose.
I got some scissors. I'll cut that for him.
Are you back, Joe?
Yeah, I'm back, guys. Sorry, this internet. I'm not in my normal place of office today. We're visiting family, so we're on other internets, and between my phone and the video and everything else, it's been quite the day. But for me right now, I'm more interested in hearing Eddie and his story, which is great because I mean, you know, Eddie fights for patients. Eddie's fighting for patients' rights. Eddie's fighting for medicinal cannabis, which a lot of people, you know, have a hard time believing that cannabis can be medicinal. I tend to think differently. You know, we've seen people. You know, I talked to Sherry a lot. You know, we've been going over a lot of these cases recently, and even like the Brexit over in Europe, in the UK, the last few days, where they're taking cannabis oil away from patients, and they're, you know, we see some states that are really for and they back it, and we see these other states and countries that are completely against it. I don't get it. You know, we talk about research a lot, right? Always talking about research. The government's always pointing to research. Eddie, how much research has been done on this plan? You've been doing this for years, right? You've been looking at this since the beginning of the California Prop 215, right? You've talked to Jack, you've worked with Donnie, like you've been around these guys enough to know what works, what isn't working.
Well, we're figuring that out with the cancer. Right now, we started at 2 grams a day, and now we're up to almost 4 grams a day. At 2 grams a day, it wasn't killing the cancer, but at 4 grams a day, 3 to 4 grams a day, cancer, the cancer is shrinking.
Yeah, we got the X-rays and the scans and all that to prove it. But nonetheless, things aren't good. I mean, I'm hopeful that we'll get through this, but I've also had 3 minor heart attacks and a series of seizures and some other problems, but we're hopeful. And for those of you that are doubting fucking Thomas's, let me tell you this. Don't worry about it. Believe whatever the fuck you want to believe. Do whatever you want. Who gives a shit? But trust me, when you're laying on that bed and that doctor walks in and you look at him and you know there ain't but one question you can ask him, and that question is how fucking long, you'll think real goddamn long and hard about everything I've been saying today. Because they told me 90 days.
Last time we went to the doctors, they said, you look pretty good for someone who's dying. And then I said, put it in your notes. He's taking cannabis oil.
That was your doctor. Well, how your doctors feel about that? Now we're on the doctor conversation, and are they supportive of your cannabis regime? Are they questionable?
They are all for it, every one of them.
But they will not write THC in the notes. They write CBD in the notes.
Yeah, but they're all for it. They're all very supportive.
It's
they all tell me the same thing. We don't really think it kills it, but we know it's not going to hurt you, so go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're just so hesitant to admit that they may not be as valuable as they believe. But no, I've had really good reception from all of my doctors, including my VA doctors, who all know that, you know, the only reason I got any radiation at all was because that when they found it, I was in stage 4. And so I had no choice but to get a jump on it. But once we got a jump on it and treated the lung cancer for 15 treatments, they are all for radiation. And now, instead of being the size of a postcard, it's the size of a silver dollar. I still got it, but it's smaller. And I did the brain radiation 3 weeks ago. And then next week, I start the radiation on the groin for 10 days.
Yeah.
So hopefully I'll end up getting 3 or 4 years out of this, maybe 5. But, you know, I'm not fooling myself, dude. I'm going to be sitting here. What I'm doing is sitting here going, you know what? I'm going to enjoy every goddamn second I got with people like you, because that's what I do.
Well, we all can't live forever, right, Eddie? Unfortunately, with the way we're built, as great as cannabis is and can be for all of us, we can't live forever, right? There's nothing that helps us get that far. So it's just a matter of living comfortable and living a full life. Now, cannabis versus opioids, we talk about this with Sherry a lot. I mean, what's your comfort level at? Is it working? Are the doctors still prescribing you opioids to help you with this, or are you just doing a strictly THC regimen right now?
Well, both. I have Norco, and I have a little patch, I think, fentanyl, that I have that I can use. On a daily basis, I don't use anything but cannabis. However, for example, the cancer in my groin where I broke my pelvic bone, it sometimes feels like somebody shoves a sword right up next to that sumbitch, and it don't stop till the tip hits my eyes.
Well, you fell a few days ago too.
Yeah, it's usually after I fall or something. And when that happens, then I'll use the pills just to get through the intense immediate pain. But other than that, I don't touch them if I don't have to.
Nice. I mean, unfortunately, it's we talk to patients all the time. It's really scary to hear what they're being regimented with, all the issues that they have, what the doctors are giving. We were talking about last week with Sherry about how doctors seem to constantly give you one medication and there's 8 more medications for the side effects. You know what I mean? How can we get people off
We've
of
been
them?
figuring that one out.
Yeah, I would, in all honesty, I'd have been dead 3 times now if it wasn't for my daughter and my wife.
Yeah.
We just stopped 2 prescriptions yesterday. They had me on that were killing me.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Lowering his heart blood pressure, and he needed it raised, not lowered. And when I looked up the pills, they did the opposite of what he needed.
Yeah, it's so interesting that if doctors, nurses, more clinicians had an understanding of the endocannabinoid system and how every single thing that we are doing or not doing in our lives, and that includes taking pharmaceuticals, either supports the endocannabinoid system or doesn't. So if pharmaceuticals that are being prescribed to patients do not support and nourish the endocannabinoid system, you need to look at that, how and why, and what else can you do to mitigate side effects. So we have found as nurses that cannabinoids and pharmaceuticals pair really well together. They work hand in hand, they work in synergy. It doesn't have to be either or. You know, so as nurses, yeah, it doesn't have to be either or.
I take much less opiated medicine due to the cannabis than I ever would. I mean, there's no way in the world I could make it through a day without at least 1 or 2, maybe even 3 pain pills if I didn't have the cannabis.
Yeah.
As it is, I can go 3 or 4 days without taking a pain pill.
Yep. And that's the part that's so nice
I'm
too
not
about.
addicted to them. I don't depend on them.
Yes.
I use them when I need them. And then that way, I know who I am. My wife knows who I am, except when Feisty Kitty comes out. My nickname's Kitten. And Mama Bear has been putting up with the brunt of Kitten being a snippy little bitch.
Snippy kitty.
But I keep her under control most of the time.
Right. Well, I mean, it's not easy, right?
Not easy.
I'm
He
sure
gets
hanging
very
out with you is-
frustrated. There's a lot going on, and he's in a lot of pain. So I have to just let it go and try to just calm him when he gets angry, because I know it's just the pain.
Yeah.
in this day and age.
I gotta tell you.
And I can totally identify with chronic debilitating pain. Literally, when I was sick and suffering years ago in 2012 to the end of 2014, the pain was so severe that I was suicidal. So, and that's not something I share lightly, because it wasn't that I wanted to die. I wanted the pain to go away. Nothing was touching it. Nothing. I was on over 18 pharmaceuticals, sick, suffering, dying. And basically it was like Groundhog Day every day until cannabis came into my life. Cannabis bridged the gap from what I wasn't getting from traditional medicine. It helped made all of the tools that I used to work good. So
I want to tell a really quick story. When I had colon surgery, I was in the hospital for a month, and I came home and I was bedridden for almost a year. About 6 months into it, a friend of mine came home, Capper. She came to my house and she said, "Honey, you need to smoke this." And I went from rocking back and forth in my bed with my eyes closed to sitting up and wanted to check my email in 30 minutes. After almost a year, of just rocking back and forth. And pretty much I realized that minute that I had kind of gotten off my path and I needed to go back to where I needed to be, which was in the garden.
And the part that's so fascinating is this plant brings consciousness to us, whereas traditional pharmaceuticals can make us unconscious. So one of my 75-year-old friends who's a nurse, who actually introduced me to medical cannabis back in 2014, she says it so perfectly. She says, pharmaceuticals may relieve the pain for a short amount of time, but it dampens our consciousness, so we're not able to process emotions. Cannabinoids, on the other hand, not only nourish our entire body and work on those pain receptors, but also brings consciousness to our lives, so we can process information from a different space, from a space of not being in that acute pain. It pulls you out of the story of sickness and trajectory of pain and helps you to process this information in a way that's going to help you, that's going to improve the quality of your life.
The large part of the problem is that those in charge, that's not why they're against it. They know about the medical. They know that we're right, but that's not why they're against it. Do you have any idea why they're against it?
Money.
No.
I have a little idea when it comes to working with physicians and doctors that I try to educate. Honestly, they don't understand the difference between plant medicine and traditional pharmaceuticals because they haven't learned it. And it's time consuming, and it requires doctors to pay attention and listen to their patients and to work with them. Because also the thing that's very, very important that people don't understand is when you're using cannabis medically, your cannabinoid requirements can change over time as you change, right? So it doesn't, and that's the part that's so cool about this plant, is it can be used in so many different ways. You can have one thing to support your entire body, using it multiple different ways, multiple cannabinoids, different terpene profiles, different methods of administration. And traditional doctors, they don't have the time for it. So that's why nurses, cannabis nurses, we're popping up all over the place, because we have found this plant to be so powerful.
Well, and that's the issue. To get back to why they don't want it legal, it's got nothing to do with the medical or money. It has to do with power.
Power?
Control.
Yeah. How do you think I had the courage to stand up and say, "Fuck you"? Marijuana makes you question authority. If there were, say there were 100 of us, and we were sitting in a room, 8 o'clock in the morning, and we all got drunk, don't ever do that again, please.
Sorry.
That was my
I
bad
know, I
toe.
got you on your bad foot. I know, I'm sorry.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
The
That's
thing
all right.
is, we all got drunk. By 10 o'clock in the morning, somebody would want to hang somebody. Somebody would want to kill somebody. Somebody would want to do all kinds of shit. There'd be racial implications. There'd be sexist implications. There'd be all kinds of horse shit. You know how long that would last? 46 days. Because a single shot of alcohol stays in your system for over 5 weeks. It's still measurable at 5 weeks. You have the courage to stand up and tell them, hey, I'm not going to do that shit. I'm going to do what's right for me. It pisses them off. They get very upset. That's what the 60s was all about. We didn't know a thing about medicine, and we didn't care about the medicine. We wanted political change. And that's how it all started, was political change by the hippies. I was 12 years old marching up and down the streets of San Francisco. I was 15 when I got beat up by 2 old blue hairs at a George Wallace rally in Washington, in Boise, Idaho, on the Capitol steps, because I called him out for being a racist prick. And these 2 old blue hairs behind me started smacking me with their purses. It's because it gives you the courage to stand up to them. They get you all stoned and get you all fucked up and drunk. You're easy to control.
Yep.
You get a man stoned, that's a man with a mind. That's a man that says, why would you want to beat him up? Why would you want to hang him? You know, and I really believe, and always have and always will believe, that is their main motive, is that it gives people the courage to stand up to them. And as it is now as a nation, look around. Look what we've let them do to us. The rest of you sons of bitches are happy with this. I feel sorry for you, because frankly, I'm pissed off as hell. I'm dying, and I can't even go to the fucking beach.
Yeah, especially with the day and age right now. This COVID. I had a quick question, Eddie, from one of the listeners that are watching. They were wondering, how much cannabis are you consuming, and what types to treat yourself medically with?
Okay, I use everything. I use salves, oils, creams, serums, a whole bunch of stuff. But the RSO, the pure RSO, is what I use almost constantly. And I'm going to tell you guys something now. In fact, I'm going to share this with you. It's not the cannabis's fault, okay? But this is the most addictive substance known to man. Do not, unless you are prepared to make a lifetime commitment, ever put 2 grams RSO into a large cup of hot cocoa. It is over. Anybody,
2 grams RSO? Eddie, 2 grams?
That sounds like a nice way to warm up at the end of the evening, you know? 2 grams and a cup of hot cocoa sitting by the fire.
First thing in the morning, last thing at night. A couple times during the day.
I mean, we talk about RSO. For people who don't know what RSO is, it's Rick Simpson oil. We talk a lot about RSO and FICO treatments. Basically the same type of approach, just processed a little bit differently. Tom can go into the details on that. Tom, would you mind telling people the difference between a little bit of RSO and FICO for us?
Yeah, no problem. So RSO is going to be done with acetylcyclyl alcohol, whereas your FICO is going to be done with ethanol, such as like Everclear or grain alcohol of some sort. I prefer the FICO method myself, just because it's a lot easier to end up with a good quality product and make sure that you don't have any contaminants in the end product, considering as though acetral alcohol is not meant for human consumption. However, there are plenty of ways to be able to process that out as well. So making RSO with acetral alcohol is actually a lot cheaper and more lucrative in the medical and recreational markets in the event that you're making RSO commercially, because you don't end up having to spend the same amount of tax and tariffs or expense on the ethanol as you would, because it's much cheaper to purchase the acetral.
Right. And now to make it, Thomas, it takes a considerable amount of product, correct?
Absolutely. So there's definitely a point of no return when it comes to how much alcohol is needed for the product, or how much product is needed for the alcohol. But on average, I would say that most people are usually able to obtain around 20% yield, give or take, depending on the quality of the material and their method of processing. Now, I will say that between RSO and FICO, one of the main reasons I prefer FICO is just looking at a lot of the different methodology out there, and a lot of the back home, backyard methods. A lot of the people that are doing the backyard methods are going to be much better off with the FICO, because there is going to be some residuals, and they'll be much better off putting a little bit of residual ethanol into their system, as opposed to residual acetral that has additional chemicals added to it to prevent you from consuming it.
Thomas, I have a question. Thomas, really quick,
of course.
because I've got a lot of viewers on the Green Nurse that are watching. So when you said that you get 20% yield, can we give like an example? So say, for example, you're processing 1 ounce of flour. 1 ounce of flour in ethanol, what would you yield for oil?
So 1 ounce of flour is about 28 grams. So I would expect to estimate around 5.5 grams of full extract oil at the end. Now that's oil that's been, it's had all of the ethanol removed, right down to the point of being a shatter or a putty-like consistency. At that point, you can add my preference is to add back in MCT oil for the tincture. That way, it adds the additional medium chain triglycerides that'll help with absorption.
Yep. Thank you.
And then I'll usually do probably about 1 gram for every 10 milliliters for a nice strong dose, or 1 gram for every 30 milliliters for a lighter dose. Cancer patients definitely need the heavier dosage. People that are using it for anxiety and stress management definitely don't need as much. But killing tumors is tough, and I'm happy to see that Eddy is doing so well with the tumors and shrinking them, because it's fantastic. I mean, it's why I got into this business to begin with. So helping cancer patients. And
I would love to share a quick story, and the reason why is this just shows the difference of everyone's endocannabinoid system and how our cannabinoid requirements are different. So I took care of a patient 3 years ago who was on hospice, stage 4 pancreatic cancer, unresectable tumor, failed chemo, failed radiation, 70 years old, Italian woman. And so I went to her home to teach her about how to use the medicine that she purchased. And her goals were, she just wanted to sleep, be cognizant, be awake, and enjoy time with her family. She was truly accepting the fact that she was going to die. So basically, she only did a little bit of Rick Simpson oil, probably 1/10 of a gram at bedtime, and did full spectrum CBD in the daytime, and her symptoms were managed effectively. She wasn't looking to cure the cancer. So I don't hear from her. 5.5 months later, I get a call a couple of days before Christmas, and it was her. Sherry, it's gone. I go, what's gone? I go, who is this? She tells me your name, and I go, oh my God, I thought you died. So it was very interesting just to see how that little bit of cannabinoids, just 1/10 of a gram of Rick Simpson oil or full extract cannabis oil and full spectrum CBD over time was shrunk her to like completely regulated her endocannabinoid system. And so it was able to produce that apoptosis that THC does. So it was just very interesting. Everyone's different. No two people are the same, but it really opened up my mind to how we are all vastly different. And we can't make blanket approaches. We can't say, this person needs this person needs this. And it's truly just working with them and seeing what they need and working with them in a way that what's important to you, how do you want to live your life? What is the goal of you using this cannabis? And the side effect was that she's alive. So, right? She ended up not dying, and she was able to live a high quality of life. She's still alive, still in remission off of her pharmaceuticals. So it was really, that's like probably one of the most powerful stories where the plant truly showed me what was true for this particular patient instead of what I thought she needed. She knew what she needed, and then she got that. And then in the end, her result was good.
That's amazing. I mean, I definitely am guilty a little bit of going with a blanket approach, especially for cancer patients, thinking that more is definitely better in most cases. Now, I will say that for some people, that's definitely not the case. Well, the main thing that I usually focus on more than grams per milliliter of oil that I'm working with is which patient needs what cannabinoids, because some patients are going to need a lot more CBN versus CBD or THC. A lot more may benefit from CBG and be able to, help rebuild cells, whereas they may not necessarily need the sluggish anxiety couch lock feel, anything along those lines. So I definitely agree with you. It's definitely not a blanket approach, and I think that's definitely one of the reasons why doctors are not interested in pursuing it. I think money and greed and power has a lot to do with it. And I think just too much work. They're like, oh, I'm too busy. I can't do that. I can just look it up and, oh, this Pfizer product, give them that. I don't need to deal with this cannabis thing.
And the plant truly humbles us too. So just think about how it is very humbling, and it's oftentimes, the doctors, they're not bad people. They went into the profession for the right reasons, right? It's the system that has literally have tied their hands. The system is a failure, truly. It is, and it needs to change. And hopefully
with our system though, Sherry, I mean, a lot of people believe, especially activists and stuff like that, and tell me if I were correct or not, but isn't a large part of the issue that a lot of these doctors, they obtain kickbacks? They get money back from these pharmaceutical companies. They get bonuses and spins, kind of like a car dealership.
They used to. That's not happening as much anymore at all because they're being called out on it. So I don't see that as much anymore happening. But what I do see, and this has to do with me actually working with an integrative functional health doctor. I spent time with him weekly for almost 8 months. He wanted to do cannabis. He wanted to incorporate it into his practice. But when it came down to it, he couldn't do it because he would have had to give up his Medicare prescribing rights. So he had to choose between being a cannabis doc. He couldn't do both because he would have to have given up something. And he's like, I can't do that to my other patients. So in the system, it's the system that's preventing him from doing this. And so, so what does he do is he refers patients to us, the nurses.
Well, unfortunately, that system is the biggest problem we have in our medical community, because again, I think there's a lot of stigmas there. There's a lot of people that really are bouncing on this research line. And it's like we've been researching for years and years and years and years. How can we not have insurance? How can we not have the research? How can we not have the support? How can doctors still at this day and age say there's no medical value? There's no endocannabinoid systems. There's no relationships between this plant and our bodies, right? We see it, we talk about it, we hear real stories like Eddy's where he's taken cannabis oil, RSO, FICO, whatever these patients are taking, it's working. We've seen kids with epilepsy and cancers living long, strong lives, right? On that, I want to switch gears a little quickly with Thomas here and get to Thomas's segment on the Grower's Guide. Then we'll come back and we'll talk to Eddy a little bit more. We'll get Timothy on and go over some of the this week's news and stuff going on, because there's a lot that I want to talk to Tim about. A lot of it falls back into the medical field, which is truly sad with what the UK is doing and a couple of things going on in this country. We'll get back to that. But Thomas, if you want to, could you just introduce your segment? Tell us what you got for us this week.
Absolutely. So this week we are just doing a basic segment on nitrogen deficiency. I just go over how nitrogen deficient leaves look and a quick and easy way to help correct the problem. You might get a surprise during the video as well.
All right. And Eddy, if there's anything you can throw in, feel free to throw it in, guys. Here we go, guys, with the Vermont Coaching Growers Guide.
No, they're just starting their intro.
Hey guys, Tom with Vermont Grow Coaching here, and welcome to Grower's Guide, your weekly beginner-friendly cannabis tips and tricks. So this week on Grower's Guide, we're going to be talking to you about nitrogen deficiency. But here to tell you a little bit about nitrogen is Coach.
Hey, Tom, what's up?
Hey, Coach, it's good to see you. So I was just telling the folks here that we're going to be talking about nitrogen deficiency today. So can you just give us a quick breakdown on what nitrogen is and what it does for your plants?
Nitrogen? Absolutely. Nitrogen provides chlorophyll and amino acids to your plants. In layman's terms, it makes them grow big and green.
Well, that's just fantastic, Coach. I really appreciate that breakdown and definition for us. So I'm going to get into the breakdown of the actual deficiency of the leaves, showing people what the leaves look like, and then we're going to let you go on your way. So I really appreciate you coming out, and I really hope you can stop back again sometime.
You too, Tom. I'll catch you next time. All right, so let's talk about nitrogen deficiency. Nitrogen deficiency usually starts at the bottom of your plant and works its way up. You're going to see some yellowing leaves. This is okay to see in the tail end of your flowering cycle, but you do not want nitrogen deficiency during your vegetative or early flowering phases. This is going to stunt growth and lower yields. So let's take a look at this healthy leaf. You can see it's nice and green. It could be a little bit darker on the green side, but for the most part, it's a healthy leaf. Now we have a mildly deficient leaf. You can see this leaf is starting to get yellow, but there is still a fair amount of green left to the leaf as well. So this is a majorly deficient leaf. If your leaves look like this in your vegetative or early flowering cycle, there's some big problems. So let's talk about how to fix it.
All right, so now you have a general idea of what a nitrogen deficient leaf looks like. So how do you take care of your nitrogen deficient plants? Well, for the most part, there are a million different ways for you to actually bring back the nitrogen to your plants. There's numerous different synthetic options, although I'm always going to recommend the organic options to you. So the first organic option, or the easiest one that I can recommend, is just to do a fish powder foliar spray. I pick up down to earth solution grade fish powder. It's a 12-1-1, so that means it's really high in nitrogen. And then I mix it at 1 tablespoon per gallon of water and foliar feed the plants to the point of runoff. If they're showing deficiencies like this, I'll actually provide this foliar feed once every 3 days for about 2 weeks or so until I see the plants come back nice and lush green. Now, all the leaves that are currently yellow are still going to stay yellow, and they're not going to get any better. But you should see lots of fresh, new green growth. And at that point, you can remove a lot of the older yellow leaves to see a nice, happy plant again. Okay, so this has been Tom with Vermont Growth Coaching. I really appreciate you guys coming out today. Make sure to tune in and check out all of our other segments on YouTube, Facebook, and all the other platforms we're hanging out on now. You can contact us with any questions or to set up a consultation appointment at vermontgrowcoach.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Cannabis, Twitter, Masters of Cannabis, email, whatever, or contact us directly at 802-342-5381. Again, Tom with Vermont Growth Coaching, and I will see you guys next time.
Bloop, 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 bloopers.
You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and a bunch of other platforms now, or contact us. I really appreciate you guys tuning in today. If you'd like to learn more about growing, check out our other Make sure to check out all of our other segments in order to find out a hell of a lot more on how to grow the plant. Oh my God, what is wrong with me? I'm going to have so many bloopers today.
That's extraordinary. I don't think people realize how hard it is to do videos and how many bloopers and recordings that we have to do. Sorry about the camera, guys. I don't know what's going on. The camera's working, everything seems to be working, but it doesn't want to work for some reason. We'll get it going. Thank you, Tom, again. Nutrients are what a lot of people talk about. We see a market flooded with nutrients and additives, as we like to call them. Is a lot of these conditions really based on pH, or what are the biggest struggles that you see with your growers?
So, some of the issues are going to be pH related, but a lot of the pH related issues are going to be more directed towards people who are growing synthetically or hydroponically. A lot of the people that are growing with living organic soils aren't going to need to worry about the pH as much because the soil itself acts like a pH buffer and adjusts as needed unless you're really out of whack. For the most part, if you're seeing really nitrogen deficient leaves like this, it's because you haven't provided enough nitrogen to your plants. If you're growing synthetically, you haven't provided enough of whatever bottle you're using. And if you're growing organically, you need to go ahead and amend your soil a little bit better. Add some more nitrogen-rich amendments, some guanos, some compost teas and stuff, just to add in some additional microbiology as well. Add in some green waste and stuff from the compost in the yard. Anything that you can do to help bring out a little bit more nitrogen. One of the problems with plant being as far gone as that last yellow leaf that I showed you, is when you are growing organically, it takes a little bit longer for the nutrients to be absorbed by the plant and to start actually doing their thing. So in that respect, it's definitely easier to do synthetically, which is why I recommended the foliar spray with the fish emulsion, because if you're using something organic and applying it directly to the leaves, it's going to be able to be absorbed by the plant a lot faster as opposed to a root uptake.
Nice. Yep. And a lot of people talk about pH. We talk about nutrients a lot, but you said starvation can happen depending on the different pH levels that you have. So, what does it really do, right? Now we're going to switch over to Timothy a little bit here. We realized that the New Jersey governor, something I want to talk to you about. We talked about New Jersey a lot. New Jersey governor delays the signing of a legalization bill. What's going on in New Jersey now? A couple of weeks ago, we were all stoked and excited and seeing this as a fast-tracked industry. What's going on?
This isn't going to be a huge delay. I mean, obviously, the implementation of legalization in any state as large as New Jersey, which is, millions and millions of people, and a huge bureaucracy, is going to involve multiple issues and little speed bumps as they get there. The train is moving. They are moving forward. This latest one is an issue over penalties for underage possession. They're trying to drop the draconian components they have of the legislation right now, like we've seen here in Vermont on a much smaller scale. Any type of legislation that gets through the legislative process needs to have compromise, meaning there's people who do not want it as well as there are people who want it. And as much as we would love just to have a bill that says exactly what we all want it to say, there's still going to be the reality of there's people who don't want it. And in the legislative process, they're going to have their say too. So this is one of those issues where there's some draconian penalties on, just ridiculous for underage possession that they're trying to get modified before it becomes law, which is, in a way, as much as we want this to move forward quickly, we also want to make sure it doesn't move too quickly and enshrine some really bad law into statute, which would be very difficult to get it changed. So taking a little bit of time to work on, issues like this is a good thing. What we don't want to see is what's happened in New York, which is having everything stalled. But that is kind of impossible under these circumstances because of the way the ballot initiative was. The legislature gave it the effect of law, and now they are legally bound to pass this in New Jersey. They're just not legally bound to a specific time frame. But like I said, sometimes these are good things. And if they can make sure that, underage minors aren't going to prison for possession of something that is now legal, that's a good thing. We don't want anybody in jail for this ever again. Ever should have been. It just, stories like Eddie, it's just, this is why I became a lawyer. Eddie's one of his stories and Jack's story, and that was what inspired me. I was, a teenager at the time, and that's one of the reasons I went into law, seeing what happened in California in the late 90s when the will of the people was being disregarded by the federal government. And as a federal attorney now, I appear in front of federal judges, and I see the same thing. So
It's amazing, isn't it? The other thing I saw that was really unique this week was, and this was just, just a couple days ago, Switzerland is moving to a lot of production and marketing of seeds, which is something that we haven't seen yet because we've talked about the seed issues and the gray area that surrounds seeds and the sales and the transportation of seeds. As we all know, cannabis is still fairly highly illegal to mail and to cross state lines within seeds. Don't they kind of fall in under that regulation, or what does this mean for the rest of the world? If anything.
Well, seeds are one of those interesting things where every statute talks about seeds, the isomers and salts and seeds and stems and derivatives and this and that. So under any written law that is going to, ban cannabis or make cannabis illegal, and also on the hemp side of it, where it does legalize it, to be fair, they always talk about the seeds. That's always considered part of the plan to prevent any loopholes. The problem is it's easy to put something in a statute. Realistically, prosecuting seeds is an incredibly difficult thing to actually pull off. Does that seed contain 0.3% THC? Is that seed a hemp seed? Is that seed a cannabis seed? Is that seed even what seed whatsoever? I always picture a prosecutor planting the seed and having it grow in their office for like 8 months while they're getting, continuations on the trial. So it's one of those things that they'll nail you for if they want. They can always bring the charge. They can always try. But we don't, as a criminal defense attorney, at least for the last few years, we don't see any seed cases. It's one of those things. You can order seeds online. You can order seeds from Europe. They get mailed here. So realistically, anytime we see a country start to expand their laws, it's fantastic. Every time we get one more step towards normalization, every time we get one step away from prohibition and the stigma that's surrounded this plant for so many years and ruined so many lives, it just makes me sick. But so Switzerland, good. Is it going to really change the game? Not much. Seeds are one of those things that thankfully they're not that insane about. It's very difficult for them to get that prosecution. Honestly, I think it'd be very difficult these days to get a jury. You're going to convict someone of a criminal offense because of a handful of seeds that you don't even know what they are yet. It just picturing that trial does not go well for the prosecutors.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, but I think for the most part, most of the times that I've seen anyone prosecuted for something like that, it's usually because they're being prosecuted for something else, and it's just another charge for them to tack on to give somebody more time.
That's exactly right. Especially under the federal system, they'll try to, tack on every little tiny enhancement they can to get your guidelines up. It's such a warped system. But an actual prosecution for seed, that's more ridiculous than their prosecution of Tommy Chong over the bomb, Operation Pipe Dream a few years back.
Hold on, everybody. We just want to find out if you guys can hear our stream because Eddie was trying to speak. But we weren't sure if we were muted or if you could actually hear us. We're just checking.
No, I can hear you a little bit better than Eddie, as Tim was just trying to reply to Thomas's question there. Was Eddie, repeat what you had said earlier?
Well, there's several things. One, and this might help you in your legal battles, until there is measurable amounts of THC, it's all hemp. Yep. Every fucking bit of it. And unless we can furnish a lab report showing measurable THC, they can kiss my ass.
Yes, Eddie, that's what we talk about that with Timothy a lot. It's like, how do they actually going to prosecute on seeds? Are they actually going to take your seed?
How are they going to prosecute on plants? I'm talking about 6-foot plants.
Eddie, you're absolutely right. We just had an 86.
And that's a major factor that we're starting to use out here in Cali.
Exactly right.
Now,
exactly right.
Back to the grow guide thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean to sound egotistical, but High Times and other publications referred to me as one of the greatest cultivators in the world. I'll be very honest with you. My son and I own the California Seed Bank. I've got over 125 strains that go clear back to the 60s. And my son is literally, out of what I've given him with seeds, produced several thousand different phenotypes.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a genius. He knows all about genetics and all about the plant and all of this shit. I don't. I don't. You know why? I don't grow cannabis. I don't grow pot. I grow root systems. You'll never see a yellow plant in my garden.
Mm.
It's all in the soil.
Now,
your soil right. If your soil's done right, you can get by without water. You can get by without anything for a few days.
Mm-hmm. Now, how do you feel about the live soil, Eddie, that everybody is kind of like the resurgence in cannabis right now?
Well, the best soil out there is my best friend. I call him the dirt bag, but it's Patrick King. And his soil products are the best. There's nothing out there that can touch them. And a perfect example is about 3 months ago, my wife, we actually have a 20-some episode grow show that we do and a bunch of other things. And she's a genius in all of this. I don't understand any of it because I'm a farmer. I'm not a scientist. All I do is grow root systems. But she had to quit doing what she does. But she knows about root systems. And 3 months ago, she stopped all fertilizer, all treatment, all everything. All she did was put it on an automated water system so that she could take care of me. Now, I'm going to be a little secretive on the amounts, but I will say this. After 3 months of nothing but water, look at that shit.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
We here in Vermont love to talk about soil, the live soil, versus all these other things. Soil that you don't have to touch. Soil that just gets better every year as it grows. Every growth through it just gets better, and better. Soil remediation we talk about a lot on the show, especially with the way farming is done, especially commercial farming right now, where they're just ripping apart topsoils all over the country, which is also killing our carbon issues. We're having all these carbon emission issues that our plants could actually be absorbing and putting back into the ground, and we're not doing that. There's nothing.
Bioremediation.
Yes.
Bioremediation. Chernobyl, Fukushima, all good proof of bioremediation.
And that's why you can't use the synthetic nutrients to make medicine. That's why people will tell you, yes, you can use synthetic nutrients to grow plants, but you can't use it to make medicine. Medicine is made with organic soil.
That don't mean it's going to work, but you can use it. Stupid, real stupid, but yeah, you can use it.
Yeah, you need to use organics if you're making medicine, because otherwise, just like, mentioned with Chernobyl, for instance, the plant will pull the metals that you're putting into the soil from the soil, and then you're then consuming that metal. And there's a reason that you're not allowed to drink water with heavy metals in it. There's a reason that all the products put on the shelf as cosmetic products have to be tested for heavy metals. They can't have them in them because they're detrimental to your health and they can cause cancer. So now you're making a medicine for somebody that's going to cause cancer instead of help cure it. That's ludicrous. Save a little bit of time.
Will cause cancer too. If you look at all the details, most of the
exactly
say that they
the packaging alone seeps and leaches, right?
Yeah.
Yep. What was that, Joe?
Oh, I was gonna say, like Sandra was saying, even the packaging alone, a lot of our pharmaceuticals and our medications come in are made out of plastics with PCPs and they leach. And, we talk about it a lot with the cart issue, when the carts were issues about the leaching, but we don't talk about it in an oil bottle. You know what I mean? These guys are buying cheap plastic bottles straight from China. It's the same thing. We've had Dr. Uma on, and she loves to talk about metals, and that's her specialty, and what metals can do inside your body, like even like the aluminum oxides and things like what they put in the air. You know what I mean? Our government has that the aluminum oxide stuff going in the air just to help with our ozone layers, but we have to breathe that in. Like, these things can be been shown to be toxic to people and cause a lot of neurological issues, right? I'm sure Sherry could fill us in on a few of those as well, which is really, really tough to deal with, especially when you're thinking like Tom said, you're trying to buy a product to get healthy with, and it's doing more damage than it is good. And a lot of it's just marketing and integrity, really, at the end of the day, which is something that we find issues with in our industry, in the cannabis industry, right? We have some people that have very high integrity and stand behind great products and believe in organic and right down to their packaging. And then we have other people that just can't get it into a package fast enough, cheap enough, and onto a shelf somewhere to collect that green. And that's, where that greed comes into, and we lose sight of what we're doing here, right? Back to Tim. This is something I want to talk to you about real quick, Tim. And I'd love to hear Eddy's and Sherry's and Thomas's, all of your responses on this, because this is something that hits home to me. We brought up earlier in the show, Brexit will end medical cannabis for sick children. As we're talking here about medical and being able to save lives and to utilize it for cancers, and epilepsy treatments and things like that. We were talking to Sherry earlier about the UK issues and how hard it is to get in the UK, and oil is illegal and you have to have a special licenses, and now they're saying that these licenses will be no longer available. Tim, how at this day and age can Brexit really pull this off? You know what I mean? Especially when we have kids that are in a program that are relying on these medications.
Oh, okay. Just for some perspective here, we are talking about 40 to 60 children. And those are children in the UK who, after a 2018 fight, were allowed to be prescribed through the National Health Services a prescription for basically Epidiolex, a cannabis-based medication for severe childhood epilepsy. And there was a very long, drawn-out fight to get that right. And there was one child in particular and one family that really strove. So the child was having hundreds of seizures a day, and the cannabis medications took care of it, treated it because it's medicine. And that alone was very difficult to establish. And what basically was happening with the European Union, that the prescriptions that were being written in Britain, in the United Kingdom, were being honored in the Netherlands, which is where these medications were available. So you could get your, which was still, I mean, think about having to go to basically a different country just to fulfill your prescription. So this wasn't an easy thing to begin with, but it was legal. It allowed these families to get the medicine they needed without fear of being arrested, of being prosecuted, of being, you know, turned into criminals. What happened to Eddie, what happened to just so many thousands of others, had their lives destroyed for a medication. So this has been going on for 2 years. With Brexit, you know, which is, you know, basically the United Kingdom separating from the European Union, a very ill-advised move. One of the many ramifications of that is that UK prescriptions are now no longer honored in former, you know, the former EU partners. So it would be like us trying to take a United States prescription, going up to Canada and filling a US prescription. You can't bill a prescription when it's a different country. When it was the EU, they allowed it because it was one union. So they honored, you know, these. So this is just yet again another example of why, you know, separating out and the impact it's going to have on innocent people. Now, thankfully, there is a petition into the National Health Service as well on. This is one of the issues they're aware of, and they're trying to work out in the last minute. And this has gotten such attention, and they won already in such a public forum, and so many people supported these children, and because it is children, and because it has been shown that this is medicine, it's not just stoners trying to get high like the prohibitionists would have everyone believe, that I think they're going to get it taken care of. And it's such a small group that I think there's going to be an exception made. I think they are going to be able to come up to something to help these particular children. But it's not going to help the rest as this grows. You know, this is just a Band-Aid over a larger issue that needs to be addressed.
Now, yeah. I love that you had brought up this article, Joe, or the story, and had Tim give his input, because this is something that I've actually been following really closely. And I actually find really hits home hard for me because my youngest actually has epilepsy. So my youngest child actually has absentee seizures. So you could be talking to her, and at any given time, she could just go blank face. It used to be that it was associated with overexertion. If you had her dancing around, you know, she'd be dancing and all of a sudden she'd stop dancing and she'd just sway there and just have a dead stare for about 3 seconds, maybe 10 at the most. And then she'd right back to where she was as if nothing ever happened. It's almost as if her brain just stops for a second and then she picks right back up where she was. You know, when her grandmother was called, she'd get super, super excited. Yay, Nana's calling, Nana. I want to talk to Nana. Yay, I want to talk to Nana. And, you know, at first, you know, it was definitely an issue and we were concerned about it, but we became very concerned when one day she was dancing around the room and she lost her balance when she had one of these episodes and she hit her head off the table. So we brought her to the neurologist, and the neurologist put her on some medication that I was not okay with, but at the time I had to do what her mother was okay with. And we put her on some medication that actually ended up making her worse. It took these seizures away, but it made her like a zombie. She wasn't the happy kid she was anymore. So being able to provide her cannabis as a medicine, she still has these seizures periodically, but they are nowhere near nowhere near as often as they were when she wasn't on medication. And she's able to be a happy kid taking her medicine now the way she does now than with the stuff that was prescribed to her from the neurologist for nothing else other than cannabis is a medicine. And I don't care if you're 2 years old or 90 years old. If you're having seizures, I don't care if your brain's not developed, the cannabis is going to help you. It may cause some issues with brain development. I'm not going to lie. I have seen the studies. It does happen. But lesser of two evils, I would much rather see cannabis as the medicine than a zombie child, 110%.
So truly, it's about risk-benefit ratio, right? And quality of life when it comes to kids, right? Risk-benefit ratio. What's most important for this child right here, right now with what's going on? Granted, we can deal with these issues in the future, but truly, quality of life. Let's think about that first. What's important to this family? What's important to their child? And really think about that first. And like I said before, cannabinoids bridge really well with traditional pharmaceuticals. I've seen them work really, really well together. It doesn't have to be either or, but cannabinoids need to be offered, should be on the table with everything else. Hands down. Provide all the information to patients and let them choose.
Agreed. Totally agree. I think everybody should take a time and go find that article. It's on BBC's World's article. It's a great read. It has a couple different parental situations with children in there, so you can actually get a good scope of what's going on. Like Tim said, it's a little confusing, and especially with legalization a couple of years ago for them, and now these new Brexit rules. And like Tom was saying, if anybody's been watching to world news, the Brexit stuff is not just with these kids. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on over there with human rights, I guess you could say, which is the best answer on that one. One thing I wanted to end off on, Tim, really quick though, was the DEA. We talk about the DEA all the time. We talk about how they just are fucking our systems up and they're dragging their feet, and they're just, we got all these lawsuits against them. It looks like they are open to start handing out licenses. Hopefully by 2021? Is that something we're really going to see, or is that just another let's get us by?
Ongoing saga, and this has been, so forgive me for being a little cynical about the DEA and their administrative remedies argument, which is every time we've tried to bring a lawsuit about reclassification, they've given us the same song and dance. And now this is, after 24 or so years of litigation, the courts have finally said, you need to do this. They said this about 5 years ago, and then again 3 years ago, and then again in the most recent ruling. And now maybe the DEA might. The question is, how are they going to adhere to what they're being told to do while still not doing what they're supposed to do? Because that's what they've become really good at in these type of lawsuits. I'm sure we'll issue, okay, we're going to issue scientific cultivation licenses, and then they'll issue one to one person somewhere in the middle of nowhere, or nobody's ever, again, maybe I'm being a little jaded, and I think a lot's going to have to do with who gets appointed as the new DEA head under the new administration. We're going to have a new head of the DEA. We're going to have a new attorney general. There's going to be new priorities. And depending on who gets appointed and who lands that job, I think we're going to see whether this is an actual good faith effort to start the scientific research that's so desperately needed, or if this is yet just another DEA BS pulling the wool over the eyes of the court, trying to get away from doing what they need to do, and they don't want to. Well, we'll see. We'll see. It's good. It's a good sign. It's good the courts are finally kind of putting their feet to the fire, so to say. But again, we've heard this before, and we've seen the DEA dodge before, again, over and over and over again. Because ultimately, what penalties? What are they going to do? Arrest the DEA? It's a very frustrating. It's a very frustrating organization. I think the DEA should be disbanded. I don't think they should exist. Drugs addiction is not a criminal justice issue. Drug addiction is a health issue. So, I get very frustrated anything to do with the DEA, but we might get lucky. The new administration might actually have a head of the DEA that gets it. Maybe we got lucky. I hope.
Got plenty.
That being said, let's cross our fingers and hope that the DEA will get their heads out of their asses. 2021 is going to be a great year. We're kind of getting a little bit behind time here, so I want to get right to Sherry and the Green Nurse Group and their segment this week, which we took from today. We're going to talk about water and nutrition, which is what ties in great with our show today, because we're talking a lot about health issues, how to stay healthy, Obviously Eddie is struggling with some health, and we've talked about RSO treatments. We've talked about FICO and how all these great, wonderful cannabis things can help. Sherry, let's talk about the segment today a little bit that you guys had discussed earlier with water and nutritional health.
Yeah, so Wellness Wednesday. So today we're talking a little bit about, hydration, the importance of micronutrients. Nutrition is huge. Cannabinoids are phytobotanical nutrients. We truly understand that nutrition is really, really important for upregulating our endocannabinoid system. So our body has a ton of water in it. And basically, a lot of times when people start using cannabis, they notice that they may get thirsty. And so generally, most people are dehydrated more than they are hydrated. And that has to do with some of the other choices that they make when they, if they're drinking alcohol or coffee or soda, all those different things with caffeine in it can be dehydrating. So just putting attention on water and how water is a nutrient and how it is essential to all organ systems, our immune system, and keeping our body in homeostasis. So we're truly, when we educate on the endocannabinoid system and the interconnectedness of how it works in our entire body. And water is essential. What do we do when we grow plants? We water them. So it just makes sense that we need water too. So that's what this segment is about, just wellness.
All right, and here we go with the green nurse. Here we go with the green nurses. Canna-talk. Right before we get to that, though, I do have to make a shout out to Clea from Roy. It's her birthday, so happy birthday to Clea. We send you lots of Canna love your way, and here we go, guys, with the green nurse group.
They don't even know. It's not even showing. They're doing that segue. This is a no-brainer.
Well, welcome to Nurse Mark and the Green Nurse Daily Dose of AFA.
AFA, where we bring you high information, hope, inspiration for growth and healing. And we have some really cool things to talk about today.
Oh my God, we got to get right into it, Sherry. Today's Wednesday, December 30th. Holy cow, we're counting down. 2020 is almost over.
I know it is, and it's been a year. It's been a year.
It has been a year, hasn't it?
Yeah. Thank God for cannabis.
I know. Healing the world, Sherry. Healing the world.
One plant, one nug, one hug at a time. One nug at a time.
You know it.
And today's word I'm going to build up is flow. And so flow to me is about feminine energy. It's about the plants. It's about going with the flow. It's about being receptive.
Yeah.
Truly being in that space of openness and watery flow. So water flow is very feminine. So I'm talking about water.
That's that water flow. Yeah, that's our topic today.
Our topic is water. Wellness Wednesday and the benefits of drinking water. And this was something that I did yesterday, micronutrients and water. Yeah. So the goal of drinking water is to drink half your body weight in water in ounces unless you are on a fluid restriction.
Right.
Okay, so our water requirements are different depending upon how old we are and what our activity level is. It's just a general rule of thumb.
Right.
When someone only tells me they have 8 ounces of water a day, I always want to just encourage them about these very important facts. Mark, you got to
the older we get, the more important it is, because as we age, we lose that cue of thirst, right? So we don't typically drink as much. And here we are having our diuretic, yahoo! So right after this, I'm going to have my big glass of water. It's tea? No, I'm having coffee. I'm having a cup of coffee, and I'll have a big glass of water after. Coffee is a diuretic, which means it forces you to urinate more, as is alcohol. So as we age, lose that drive to have something to drink.
Right. So you don't count alcohol or coffee as part of your ounces of water.
No.
So for every cup of coffee that you have, you need to balance it out at least that much water or more. So that's just been my experience in working with diet and nutrition. So let's talk about the benefits of water, because there's quite a few here. Now, the other thing too, here's another funny thing. You can die if you drink too much water. You can't
Sure
die
you
in
can.
Canada.
People have done it.
Yeah, exactly. So I like to bring that point up. So when it comes to safety profile, truly, you need to A, listen to your doctor when it comes to that if you're on a fluid restriction. B, if you're generally healthy, you're active, drink half your body weight in water. Okay, so 1, lubricates joints. So the cartilage that's found in our joints and discs of our spine contain 80% water. So when we stay hydrated, that keeps our joints lubricated to reduce that shock, right? So it's really, really cool. So that's one thing. Yeah, it's that cushion. It's that.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the water is like, you know, loosening up that cord in my neck. So saliva, right? Saliva and mucus, it helps us to digest our food. It keeps our mouth, nose, and eyes moist. So here's really another, you know, choice is to swap soda for water. Yeah.
Foreign invaders. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So lubrication. Number 3.
Yep.
Blood. Our blood is 90% water, and it carries nutrients to oxygenate our blood to our tissues.
Kind of important to have good blood flow, right? Kind of important to have the right volume.
Yes, well, that's what we see in the intensive care unit when I was working in the ICU. It's called hypovolemia. So patients would be extremely dehydrated. They wouldn't have good blood pressure, septic shock, and so we were giving them fluids.
It's all about that balance. Yeah.
Homeostasis. All right. Boost skin health, which is great.
Yeah.
Hydration, you know, it's like one of the things about aging. Stay hydrated. Right? Here's the thing too, cognitive function. So think about water cushions the brain, our spinal cord, and other sensitive tissues. Dehydration can affect the brain's structure and can lead to cognitive dysfunction. So water for brain health, everyone. So regulates body temperature. Our digestive system is dependent upon water for digestion. Huge. And I'm going to bring up just a tiny thing that I love about that concept, especially with autoimmune conditions, chronic pain, right? Water soluble. Look at this. This is a sample of our water soluble that's coming out. So for me, this is a really good tool that I'm putting in my water today because I have a certain amount of water. I have the micronutrients in my water and a little bit of water soluble for gut health, right? Our enteric nervous system connects to our central nervous system via the endocannabinoid system. So truly about that umbrella homeostasis, which is great. Okay, back to water. Flushes out waste, helps maintain blood pressure, helps make minerals and nutrients accessible, prevents kidney damage, boosts performance during exercise. Here's a big one. You ready? Reduces the chance of hangover when drinking alcohol if you drink water when you drink.
Right.
And last but not least,
it's a strategy, right?
It is a good strategy.
Have a glass of water. Have a glass of water.
Exactly.
Why that with alcohol? Because alcohol turns off that hormone that keeps the water in your body, right? The antidiuretic hormone.
Yes. And
alcohol sets that up. That's why you have to pee a lot when you're drinking alcohol. So you're going to be dehydrated. And that's part of why you feel so horrible the next day is because you've been dehydrated. Like there's not enough fluid left in your body.
Okay, here's another really good one too, especially with people making New Year's resolutions. Water is great at assisting with weight loss.
Sure it is. Gives you that satiated feeling of being full.
Yeah, truly. And so here's a really good I used to teach at a gym years ago. And so when I was working with women about the benefits of water, I'm not going to lie, when I started getting healthier from using cannabis, it was difficult for me to drink water because I was so used to drinking soda because it was the only thing I could get down. So for me, in order to get the water in, I had to play tricks with myself. So I got these mason jars and would fill one up with berries, one up with lemon and limes, one up with cucumber and lime, and one of them with citrus. So when I would have these mason jars, and so basically these micronutrients actually get into your system via water. So the benefits of drinking infused water for weight management is the following. It's a good one for the new year. It increases metabolism to burn calories. It helps our bodies release fat cells. This is if you, like I said, if you are looking to lose weight. Flushes toxins and fat cells out of our bodies. keeps our already food that we've eaten moving through our digestive tract so we don't get constipated.
Yep.
Reduces muscle fatigue while working out, decreases workout recovery time, nutrient-rich hydration to nourish our bodies to maintain steady energy and homeostasis. So water for the win. And tonight, this is my last, because Mark and I are going to be doing our podcast weekly together on Wednesdays in the new year. We're manifesting that. It's happening. But tonight's going to be my last podcast at 8:30 p.m. and of 2020. And it's going to be celebrating nurses.
Yeah.
So the show tonight is
the year of the nurse.
The year of the nurse. So tonight we're truly going to be honoring all nurses, but we're going to focus a little bit on what happened this year and how nurses have had a huge impact in the cannabis space to decrease stigma so we can continue to educate on the most important system in our body. So join us this afternoon and tonight. And my last plug is, if you or someone you love is suffering from chronic illness, chronic pain, and invisible illness, if you or someone you love is interested in incorporating plant medicine or other progressive therapies into your life, or if you're new to cannabis and you do want to have an adult use recreational experience, reach out to us at The Green Nurse. We're here to educate and empower you to make those choices that are best for you. So visit us at www.thegreennurse.com.
Yeah, baby. And you know what I'm going to say.
Of course.
If you're in the healthcare space, join us. We're healing the world, and we need you to be a part of this. We've got a great program to help get you to the point where you're going to feel really comfortable talking about cannabis as a medicine to help people get more health, to become more healthy. And live what? What is it all about, Sherry?
It's truly about living your best life.
It sure is. And you know what, folks? Have an AFA day.
Hello?
All right, we are back. Another great AFA day today. Mark, we love Mark. He's got so much energy and he's so happy. And you know, it's very important that we bring up the end of that clip again, because you know, you guys are reaching out to medical professionals. You guys are trying to help train and push the new regime in our industry to be accepting and to have the knowledge to teach everybody else. So we definitely appreciate that. We know you got a couple of days off here, but Sherry, is there anything you want to add to the clip to any of the nurses that are listening right now? I mean, we had a great show talking to Eddie about his issues, so hopefully anybody who's tuned in is really appreciative of this. How can they reach out to you, Sherry, and become more knowledgeable on stepping into a medical industry?
So this is the part that I love so much about this plant, is because no matter what you're doing in the health and wellness field, you can incorporate cannabinoid education into what you're doing. So even if you are interested in learning about this and you're not sure, you know, you can come, you can get a consultation to see how we work with patients. And we also do mentorship and consulting to teach you how to take that information that you're learning in the webinars, in the seminars, in the classes, in the colleges, and bringing it to teach you how to interact with patients. So we're doing things just a little bit differently than what the traditional system does. As I've mentioned before, what we learn in the traditional system is we focus on symptoms, body parts, disease processes. And if we're lucky, we get to mental, emotional, psychological health. And rarely do we ever get to someone's spiritual health. And truly, this plant works on our minds, our bodies, and our spirits all at the same time. So what we're doing is we're teaching clinicians how to do it a little bit differently, how to connect with that patient first, how to connect with their heart, with their spirit, with their soul. Because the very first thing that cannabis did for me was it brought me hope. It opened up my mind, my consciousness, my perception, pulled me out of the story of sickness and illness and the trajectory of doomsday, and helped me to get a different perspective. The first thing it brought me was hope. And so that's what we're trying to do is, you know, it brings patients hope. And it's one of the things that we're teaching clinicians is that it's not about you. It's not about you. It is about that patient that you're working with. And your job is to not judge them for what they choose. Your job is to be present, grounded, mindful, supportive. You know, the basic of nursing is human caring. That's what it truly is. It's about caring, meeting patients where they are, holding their hand, bringing them down that path, making them feel comfortable, helping them to make choices and guiding them. People will say, Sherry, is this the way to do it? Is this the way to do it? I go, listen, nothing works and everything works. You have to figure out what works for you. And so truly, as clinicians, what we're doing is we're trying to teach patients and teach clinicians that they can incorporate cannabinoid education into their current, whatever they're doing, whatever you're doing out there. If you're a chiropractor, an acupuncturist, a health coach, a massage therapist, a yogi, right? Any type of nursing profession, even if you don't want to leave the traditional system, you have an obligation as a health professional to learn about the endocannabinoid system and the most misunderstood plant in the world. I guarantee you that you will be your patient's hero. So that's my plug for that is, we have an obligation. And also too, with nurses, I'm just going to say this, I'm going to be talking about this a lot more and more on Monday. In 2018, the National Council State Boards of Nursing, which is the governing body that regulates all nursing licensure across the United States and across the world, actually, but in individual states, the NCLEX exam is the exam that all nurses must take in order to get certified in that particular state. So they came out with a call to action in 2018 that said that all nurses, advanced practice nurses, and nursing students must have knowledge in 6 essential areas when it comes to cannabinoid therapeutics. So that's huge, really, really big. So the nursing profession is truly stepping up their game, embracing this plant, and truly seeing the impact. So, and generally the nurses that come into the space first, the majority of us are patients, such as myself, or they've worked with their family members, and cannabis has made a significant difference in their lives, their quality of their lives, helping them, as we say, to live their best life. Healing.
I'd like to say this about the nurses. One of my dear friends who's a breast cancer survivor is in college right now. She's already been a nurse for over 20 years, but she's at a college back by Boston, somewhere in there, to become a certified cannabis nurse. And I have another friend who is in the medical profession. She's a little higher up the food chain than a nurse, but one of her regiments, if you will, is what I use and is one of the main reasons I'm alive. I owe it to women. I owe it to nurses. I owe it to the mother plant. It's very important. And about what she said earlier about the water, I try to drink as much as I can of all fluids. And every week I have to go in and get a 2-liter bottle pumped into my arm.
Hydration.
To ensure that I stay hydrated enough to stay alive. Again, to get back a little earlier, the reason them sons of bitches don't want us smoking pot is because it makes us stink.
True.
It makes us question authority. It makes us question their bullshit. So you're 100% right, my darling. Just keep kicking on the fucking door, and sooner or later the sons of bitches will open it.
Truly. And this is what we say as nurses. It's going to reach a critical mass in the community. Okay, so as nurses in the community, starting our consulting businesses, doing this, what we're seeing now is over the pandemic, we've certified quite a few doctors, and every single doctor that I've asked, how did you hear about us? You know what they said? You take care of one of my patients. Right? So it goes to show you that the community is going to end up bringing it into the traditional system. It's going to reach a critical mass. People are going to be demanding it. And they are so far. People are starting to get smart, starting to question authority, starting to take their health back into their own hands, starting to be empowered. When you're a patient and you can figure out how to make this plant work for you, let me just tell you, it is exhilarating to figure out how to take care of yourself so you're not dependent upon a watch, a clock, a pill bottle, the pharmacist, the doctor's appointments.
I just wonder if John Paul, George, and Ringo have any idea all those years ago what the fuck they were going to actually kick up when they started waking us up hippies.
Yeah. Right.
I also want to say that gardening is very healing. For me, I noticed that actually making myself get up to water my plants got me out of bed when I was at my worst physically and ill. And getting up and having to water my plants was huge. And I noticed in a lot of the places that they're calling legalization, they're not allowing patients to grow their own.
Nope.
So against that. I mean, because here's the other thing that I've even noticed working with veterans that end up growing their plants, what they've reported back to me is that regardless of the strain, them taking care of that plant, nourishing that plant, spending time with that plant, feeding that plant, the consciousness of that person goes into the plant, and the plant creates the perfect medicine for them.
Exactly.
Time and time and time again. Everyone should be allowed to grow. Everyone.
Yeah, we talk about.
I'm a huge advocate.
If you check in the Department of Agriculture, their dictionary, if you will, on what they're in charge of. Under plants, it's got cannabis sativa listed. I think it's in the 130s. And the Department of Agriculture is and always has been in charge of this plant.
Yep.
That's one reason I'm wondering why all these other people are controlling it.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great question.
Agricultural product.
Yep. No, we
And I
totally
always
agree.
say that all agricultural products should be judged on their runoff.
Yep.
Exactly.
No, we totally agree with you guys. To have the DEA to oversight this, the DOJ to oversight the cannabis. I mean, it's an agricultural product. It should be no different than corn or beans or cabbage or anything else that's agriculturally stable. I mean, we should be able to sell at farm stands. Thomas and his growers should be able to earn a living off this and to have it become a commodity, right? And not only for just smoking or what we would consider stoner usages, but we have biofuels, we have fibers, we have crete, we have all these awesome abilities that this plant can create and help us with and save in the long run. We're looking at batteries now, where batteries have been in the news a lot this week. Where we're seeing that even with a hemp battery, who ever thought that hemp could make a battery, right? That could be one of the most powerful and cheaper made batteries in the world. Tom, I know you had a quick something you wanted to say there.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say that I'm a huge advocate for patients being able to grow their own, not just for being a right that you should be able to grow your own, and for the reason that Sherry mentioned as well, but also because the terpenes in the plants help heal your body and help change your anxiety levels, help change your mood just by being with your plants on a daily basis. Even the dirt, the soil itself has so much available, even terpenes in the soil. You can pick up a scoop of dirt and just smell it. And just taking a big whiff of dirt, that always puts a huge smile on my face. And people look at me like, you're crazy. Why are you sniffing the dirt? I'm sniffing the dirt because it makes me happy. It literally makes me happy. You're reaching for that beer. I would rather pick up that dirt right there and take a whiff.
Yep.
Well, I'll tell you a little known fact that I don't admit too often, but this is the truth. Every year, summer solstice, I'm naked, sound asleep under the biggest, fattest, most beautiful girl in my garden.
I love it. I love it. No, we're huge advocates.
In an airbed.
Well, yeah, I'm comfortable, but yeah, I sleep naked out in my garden every year on solstice. I do it other than that a lot. I mean, there's no place in the world better than a garden.
No, not either.
Goodness, the two best things in the world are gardens and glitter.
I love it. No, Sandra had made a great point, Eddie, and you're backing it right up. And like Thomas had said, there's been proven results from people going out to their garden and just touching their plants. There's electricity in the plants. These roots are connected. The plant sings. If no one's ever heard a plant sing, Google that shit. We talk about it all the time.
When you hit your hands on the actual plant material, it penetrates you. And sometimes that tingly feeling, what you're getting is the headless trichomes, excuse me. The headless trichomes actually penetrate you like little blackberry thorns, and they actually get into your skin. And that's a whole nother thing that people don't realize when their hands itch and things from the cannabis. It's all actually going into your skin.
It's good.
Through the headless trichomes.
Yep.
But,
I had a gentleman work for me last season who can definitely attest to that. He has a CDL for driving truck, and he doesn't consume cannabis, but he still wanted to help with the trim work. And he ended up getting some resin on his body and ended up failing a drug test the following month.
Wow.
That's
yeah,
really-
I heard that some cultures use saunas, and then after they go in the sauna, they use the large branches and actually hit the skin with the large branches to purposely get those headless trichomes to break and actually penetrate the skin.
It's amazing. And when you get out of your hot bath, as we all know, your pores are wide open at that point. So it's just, that sounds good. I want to go do that now.
I'm going to turn a grow tent into a sauna. Joe, come over. We're going to turn a grow tent into a sauna.
Let's do it.
I'll tell you guys what, we get through this COVID bullshit. Maybe we can all come out to my house for a little barbecue, and the old guru will show you a little something about cannabis and its little buddy helper, the, what do they call them, psychedelic mushroom thing.
It would be amazing to come out and visit you, Eddie.
We would love to, Eddie, for sure. And you know, we have your back on getting healthier, and hopefully, you know, we can get you in touch with Sherry, and she can help you with your fight, your battles. We would love to help you with anything that we can do. Guys, as you all know, this whole show, we talked about Eddie and his health. There is a GoFundMe account out there. The status in the last few days has been, I think we can still make payments towards a GoFundMe account, just as long as it's not a PayPal payment at this moment.
Yeah, the PayPal got held up.
If I could, I'll let Sandy do most of the talking, but I never asked nobody for anything. I've always given and given and given. And therefore, it is a little hard for me to ask for things, although I am asking because I didn't have the money to pay for the car this morning. The point is I am an artiste of some ability. I try to sell my artwork, and Sandy can tell you where to find it, and hopefully you'll find a piece you like and help me get through this, and she'll give more information.
Yeah, absolutely. So as some of you know, the PayPal account got closed because the word cannabis got used somewhere in the comments. So right off the bat, I want everybody that uses PayPal to be aware that if they have anything to do with the cannabis industry, to be on high alert of that, because it's not 90 days, but 180 days. And they know that he has a terminal diagnosis and they're still holding it up. So that's unjust. And that's something I wanted to point out. Second, we do have a GoFundMe. The GoFundMe is www.gofundme.com/letter F as in Frank /Eddy Lepp needs you /donate. And that's the best place right now. And other than that, I will be opening up a Cash App to substitute the PayPal that has been put on hold for 180 days. Also, if you go to his Facebook page, OG Eddy Lepp, I will be posting some of his more recent art in the next week to come. And I will actually be setting up a place where we can order it and people can start purchasing it, because I've had an overwhelming request for his art, yet people I don't think are aware that there's jail art, there's cancer art, and, you know, there's different periods of his time, and things like the cancer art, you know, right now is a little shaky and different than like the prison art, which will never, you know, be able to you know, produce again. And then of course the art before that, which now we, you know, can't produce anymore because his hands are shaky. So it's something that is there now, but will never be there again. So we want to make sure that, you know, people that can value it can definitely get to it and have access to it, and that hopefully that'll help him in the long run. So I will be posting that on his main webpage at OG Eddy Lepp at Facebook.
Awesome. We also are going to post the link to the GoFundMe right into our in the weeds pages. So guys, you can find the link there. We would love to talk to you, Sandy, after the show about how we can help push some of the artwork for Eddy. I've watched a lot of it. I've seen a lot of it. It's amazing to see. And if anything we can do to help Eddy at this moment, we'd love to be a part of. Guys, it's coming down to that time again. So being at the end of the year, I want to give everybody their fair time to give a shout out to friends, family, business acquaintances, New Year's resolutions, things, give a little bit of ourselves to everybody, because we've been doing this show for a few years now. We've had a lot of people come and go. We've had a lot of great guests, and I get nothing but humbled every week. And I'm extremely proud to be in the positions that we're in, to be able to talk to people like Eddy and to be able to help people like Eddy. That being said, 2020 is over. I think we're all pretty much off into the new year. Sherry's got an amazing show coming up after this show that I want everybody who's tuning in to check it out, because it is a very special show about nurses, right? And getting into this medical industry that we've spent pretty much the whole show talking about, especially with Eddy and in the condition that he's in. As you guys have heard, every state's different, every country's different. Everybody has different laws and reactions to how they're going to treat cannabis patients. As you heard with Eddy, he's taking 5-hour round trips just to go to get a blood sample, to go see a doctor, to get a procedure. So, with the COVID and everything going on, as we all know, it makes our difficulties that much more difficult. So if you can, please GoFundMe, reach out to Eddy at OG Eddy Lepp on Facebook. Like Sandra said, there's a lot of great art that's available that I'm sure Eddy would love to see people appreciate. If you can help Eddy help you, it's going to be a beautiful marriage, and hopefully we can help Eddy, because I do want to go out there this summer and have a barbecue at Eddy's house and learn.
Yeah, I'm open for it. And Beans, I got my little section real quick. Thank you all so much for the last 2 hours. It's been a real joy, and thank you so much to all the listeners for caring enough to listen to our stories. None of us ever did this to be famous or get invited to do shows. We just did it because it was the right thing to do. Thank you.
I'd like to thank a few people also. We have some folks that have been helping Eddy. We've got Bubbaloo Sweet, who's been donating RSO and other tinctures. We also have Medical Meds, who's helped us out tremendously. And we also have Mike's Meds, who sent us quite a few beautiful, wonderful products and sprays and things that are amazing. And Misty, the Mystic Grower, she came and gave us some amazing glycerin. It was basically pressed dabs in glycerin, which Eddy puts also into his cocoa. And everybody that's contributed, I can't name them all, but Patrick King has been amazing. My God, please, you guys, check out Patrick King's soil if you've never checked it out. I use it every year. It's consistent for me. I've never had any issues since I've been using his soil. And Patrick has been just an amazing help throughout this entire process as well.
Tim Blake. Matter of fact, he just called while we were talking right now. I got to call him back. Andrea from CBCB. Andrea, she's amazing. Helps consistently. Helps Eddy. CBCB from Berkeley. Anybody else? That's like I said, it's all of you. Thank so you many so names much. I can't even begin to say. But everybody, we thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And I just want to say thank you to the grassroots community. Thank you so much, Eddy Lepp, because if it wasn't for you and the people that have been the pioneers, the true pioneers that have walked the walk, talked the talk, have sacrificed so much, I wouldn't be here. Seriously. So thank you.
None of us would be here. No, that's exactly right, John. Thank you so much, Eddy, for everything.
Yeah, so I'd love to say thank you to Eddy and as Sherry mentioned, all the OG growers that paved the road for the rest of us and helped make things happen the way they are right now. I want to say thanks to all my personal followers, friends and family. You all know who you are. I'm not going to call you out by name. My favorite grow shop in the Rutland area. It's small, but they're great people to get along with, and they keep my crap in the shop. So check out Grow Vermont if you're ever in Rutland. Other than that, I just wanted to give a shout out to Joe and say thanks for giving me a platform to be on, because this has been a great place to be over the last over a year now, and I've enjoyed I'm not going to say I've enjoyed every minute, but I've enjoyed most of it.
Well, I guess it's my turn. Thank you guys. I'm nothing but, truly for me, it's nothing but humbling. It's an honor. As everybody knows, we all have our ups and downs, especially within the industry. We've been beat up, chewed up, spit out, stepped on, used, abused, and every year, just like Eddie says, we just keep stepping up to the fight. We're not backing down. Again, I got to give a huge shout out to Eddie, all the OGs like we just discussed, Jack Herrera, Donnie, all the likes of these guys, Peter Strauss from Normal, all these guys that really from the beginning fought for us, the subcools. We were talking to Eddie a little bit earlier about subcool, and next week we're going to have Mendo Dopin, and that's like family to us, right? So the whole Mendo scene, that stuff, the people were trailblazers before they were allowed to, and if everybody just sat down, laid back, listened to the laws, took it like the government wants us to take it, then we wouldn't be here again today. We wouldn't be able to heal patients. We wouldn't be saving lives. And that's where it hits me the most is, we can all be stoners tomorrow, but what is really important today to me is saving a child's life, saving a cancer patient's life, saving Eddy Lepp's life. These are the things that I believe that this plant can empower people to do. We have a huge industry that is just booming right now, from everywhere from the nursing to lawyers to grow coaches to, anything you want to be in this industry, really. You know what I mean? You want to extract, you want to play in a garden, you want to just sit on the internet and promote cannabis companies. We can do that now, which is great. And like I said, none of this would be allowed to us if we didn't have Eddie and Donnie and Jack working on that California Prop 215, which is really the biggest icebreaker we ever had. And for Eddie to do what he did, being the one to start it, to be the first one charged with it, to face what he did in jail. And then, like you said, your story's amazing, Eddie. It's really, in this day and age, like you brought up a great point, which not a lot of things happen. You talk to people, you change minds back in the day when people weren't changeable, right? Like you said, your lawyers, your prosecutors are out to get you, sided with you. The judge sided with you, right? You were facing ridiculous amounts of fines, years in prison, all that stuff, and you actually had a judge that said this is ridiculous, right? You're growing, cannabis for patients, right? Whether it's 34,000 patients or not, you were giving it away. You're working with your ministries. It was all for good causes. You're a true hero to me and everybody else, and we're so glad that you are out of jail, that didn't happen to you, and we can actually get a chance to spend some time with you the last few years today, and everybody else that's ever come across your path is nothing but great things to say about you, Eddie. So again, thank you for being you. Thank you for staying real. And everybody else out there that started with the grassroots that are still fighting for us, stay fighting, guys. Don't let the corporations come in. It's up to us to make these laws happen. It's up to us to look out for patients' rights. It's up to us to look out for advocates' rights. And every week we're here. Any questions you guys have, reach out to us. And this, to me, 2021 is going to be exciting. It's good. It's a little scary to me. I don't know what to expect. I don't know about you guys, but we're going to bring it on in fun. And a big shout out to our first two shows of next year that we have booked, Mendo Dope, as we discussed, which we're really excited about, who will be releasing a bunch of new music, guys. Good friends of Eddie's, good friends of our good friends.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Oh, I knew you would.
One of the, I said earlier, you said, how you doing? I said, I'm dying and loving every minute of it. One of the reasons I'm loving every minute of it is I got every goddamn album them boys ever made.
Yeah.
If you don't know who Mendo Dope is, you should. Mendo Dope's the best cannabis band in the world. They are tremendous.
And not only are they a cannabis band, but they're growers. They're cultivators.
And organic growers.
Yes. Oh yeah. There's some of the best growers I know. They're excellent growers. They have excellent growth CDs, and they have starred on stage with Eddy Lepp. There is a song called 707 that I guest star in, and we have a good time. When you boys come out and girls that come out this summer, we'll see to it we have a Mendo Dope party.
Yes. That's
That
what
would be awesome.
Yep. They have an album coming out. They got 2 albums coming out here shortly. So hopefully we'll be able to celebrate with those guys. We can't wait to get out there, man.
They sent us a couple of the new songs, and one of them he's in it. That's why they sent us one of the early releases of one of their new songs.
That's awesome. As everybody knows, we were great friends with the legendary Sub Cool, who had recently passed. He's been on the show before, like we were talking before, Eddie. I know, we're all nerd family here, really. And if you guys don't know what nerd family is, you're not part of the family. So,
Nerd Nation.
Nerd Nation. That's it.
It is a nation, and I just want to give a big shout out. Speaking of Sub Cool, who passed recently this year. All of our condolences to friends and families. That was a huge loss for us in our industry. I know we've had a lot of losses, but that one hit kind of close to home, especially with the parameters that outlined his passing. And again, it was, in my opinion, lack of medical care and things of that nature. So it gets really sad when you start to see friends, family, people die because they can't be saved by the plant. The laws that govern us won't allow it. It's really sad. So hopefully, everybody, we have a great 2021. Hopefully, Eddie, you start to feel better and your turnaround keeps turning around, and we'll have you here for a few more years. Because again, I'm going to take you up on that offer. You're going to hear from me in about 4 months. You'll be like, "Who the hell was this guy?"
Trust me, I'll be here, and I'll know who the hell you are when you call, baby boy.
Well, we're here to help you, Eddie. And like I said to Cindy, we're here to help. Anything we can do, let's talk after the show. We got a couple of days, and I would love to help put together something for the art sales or something of that nature. We're pretty handy with the internet, so I'm sure we can help you guys out. And again, I can't thank everybody who's been a part of the show, every guest who's been on the show. We really are truly humbled. The legendary guests that we've been able to bring on this show and talk to and have these personal connections with, it doesn't get any better than this for anybody in this industry, I don't believe, especially with Timothy, Thomas, Sherry, Mark, and everybody else who's been on the show who provided, longevity to the show. Brandon, Guy, we have so many people that have been part of this this journey that I hope it doesn't stop. So, guys, cheers to next year. We have Mendo Dope coming on the 6th, and if you guys are interested in learning about extractions, and you guys have ever heard of Kevin Spielman from the Spielman Report, please check him out. Phytoscience guy, extraction guy, worked for the government. I attended a conference a few years ago and was blown away by this guy. He literally changed my world forever when it comes to medicine, extractions, and all the processes within that. And if you guys ever watch this show, you hear me go off on it all the time. Sherry, I know recently I've been doing it with you about how the medical industry crosses over too much with our recreation industry and how we can separate that and really get better medicines for our patients. You know what I mean? Fresh pressed products, products that actually have cannabinoids in them left, products that actually have terpenes in it. Like Thomas talks a lot, it's not about high THC, it's about terpenes. And we start looking into medical benefits, that's what we need to talk about the most. So everybody, let's do a little education. We're in COVID, pick up a book, Google some stuff, watch a few extra shows, get educated, and educate the person next to you and educate the person next to them. It's just like giving out hugs. Let's break the stigma. Let's get this off of a Schedule I substance, and let's move forward. And one last thing I do have to say to Clea, happy birthday, Clea Torres from Roy. I want to just make sure everybody gets that plug and everybody knows. Happy birthday to you, and we'll be back next week, guys. Eddie, thank you again so much. And that's it. That's all we got for this week, guys. Love to all my family, all my friends, and everybody. Please have a safe, and happy New Year. And as Sherry has already told us today, drink a lot of water. All right, guys. We love you. We'll talk to you.
Love you guys. Thank you again so much. It was really a pleasure.
Thank you, guys. And all the archives, guys, you can find on YouTube of all of our shows. And I will have this archive up here the next day or so. And all the growers guides and the canna-talks and the strains of the weeks. And I believe we're going to have a new strain of the week coming back to us on January 6th. I'm not going to tell you guys who it is, but it's a very special person. So hopefully you guys will like the new strain of the week. We'll see you next year.
Hasta la bye-bye.